everyone, I'm Bella.
I'm Jace.
And welcome back to the Foreplay channel.
Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to never see post a video, and then if you guys have any questions about this video once it's done or anything you want to see us in the future, make sure to drop those down below.
In this video, we are going to compare swinger cruises versus swinger resorts. Hopefully this is going to be able to help you choose which one is best for you. This is going to vary person to person on what they like the most, but hopefully if you are stuck between one or the other, this will help.
So for this video, we're gonna kind of tie the cruises together. We're gonna talk about Bliss and Temptation as a whole for everything we're talking about with cruises, and then we're gonna talk about Temptation Resort and Desire as a whole for everything we're talking about the resorts. And those are both the ones in Cancun. If you guys are planning a lifestyle vacation, a cruise, going to the resorts, if you book through our links, it doesn't cost you any extra. We have actually some fun little coupons on there to help you out with a little bit of deals, but it helps us out a lot. It helps us be able to continue to create content like this and continue to educate. We'll also have a list down below all the places that we're gonna be this year, so if you wanna come party with us and hang out, we'd love to meet anybody who watches any of these videos, listen to our podcast, so we'll have everything linked down below.
When it comes to demographic, these are pretty similar. It's going to be the average ages of 45 to 55 is the majority, and then it kind of goes into a bell curve. So there's going to be people on one side onto the younger side from the 20s into like your 30s, early 40s, and then there's also going to be people who are in your 60s, 70s, and sometimes even in the 80s.
So size-wise, it's gonna be one of the biggest differences. The resorts, as a general rule, have around 120 rooms, and then the big ones have around 400 rooms. So at most you're getting, 800, 900 people, where the cruises tend to be around 2,500 people to 4,500 people, so it's just a much bigger group of people on the cruises. Organization-wise, they're gonna be pretty similar. You're gonna have your hot tubs, your pools, your dance parties. All of them have playrooms out of these except Temptation Resorts. But the thing is, there's just kind of more of it on the cruises. The cruises have usually, a couple extra pools, because most of the resorts only have one, maybe two pools, where the cruises will have 3 or 4 pools. The hot tubs are usually twice as many hot tubs. Also with the playrooms at the resorts, they're a little bit smaller, they don't fit that many people, whereas the cruises will have usually a bigger playroom, and some of them even have multiple playrooms. On the cruises, they have a really big kind of area that the party happens, and then they also have little other areas that party. So maybe there's another dance floor, there's a Latin club. So they have other spots where the resorts have one club that's usually a decent size, but it's definitely just smaller overall.
The theme nights itself are pretty similar to both the resorts and the cruises. We do feel like on the cruises, people do tend to go all out a bit more. We also feel like on the cruises, sometimes they do have a little bit more unique themes, but in general, you are going to see pretty similar themes at both. When it comes to the food, again, both are pretty similar. Both cruises and resorts have a buffet area that you're going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at. The biggest difference is at the resorts, you're going to find multiple different restaurants that are complimentary and included, versus on the cruise, there's usually 1 to maybe 3 different restaurants that are included, and then they'll have, in addition, specialty dining, so they'll have a lot more options for food and more restaurants, but not all of those restaurants are complimentary. When it comes to alcohol, Bliss Cruise, the alcohol package is not included, so that is probably the biggest difference with that. When it comes to Temptation Cruise, and typically at all of the resorts, all of the alcohol is included in there, unless you're wanting a premium type of alcohol. With that, either way, you're going to pay extra.
Accommodation-wise, they're both gonna be very nice. It's hard to compare them exactly because all the resorts are a little bit different, all the cruises are a little bit different. Every year the cruises go on different ships, so some are gonna be a little bit nicer than other ones, also depending on what kind of room you get. There's tons of different rooms at different price points, so you can kind of choose what you're most comfortable with, but all of the rooms are gonna be nice and comfortable at both places, so it just depends on what you're going for. Price-wise, it's also kind of hard to compare because the prices are gonna vary, especially during time of the year, but as a general rule, they tend to be around the same price. If we had to rank them, I think I would say Bliss Cruise is the most expensive, followed by both of the resorts in the middle, and then Temptation Cruise being the cheapest, and that's taking into consideration the duration that you're there, the alcohol, the food, everything's included.
With this, the duration is also a really big part of it, because with the cruises, you have to be on there for that specific amount of time. So you're paying to be on there for 5 to 7 nights, versus at the resorts, you can choose however many days you want to be there. Typically it is like a 2-night minimum at least, but you don't have to stay there for 5 to 7 nights. The staff is absolutely incredible on both the resorts and the cruises. Some of the biggest differences are that some of the resorts will have playmakers and not all of the cruises do have playmakers. Those are the people who are going to help get the party started. They are the ones who are going to like start more of the games and get everybody really hyped up. Another big difference is we do feel like the cruise stateroom attendants have in general better service because you are with the same people for an extended amount of time versus at the resorts you don't typically get to know your stateroom attendant that often and you might have different ones coming in and out. Also, the wait staff is pretty similar as well. And on the cruises, you're going to have the staff from the cruise itself. And in addition to that, you're going to have the volunteer staff who are working with the charter cruise itself too. But in general, you're going to have amazing staff at both cruises and resorts.
Activity and show wise, I feel like this is actually pretty different between the resorts and the cruises. The resorts are pretty similar where they're gonna do around a 15 to 20 minute show at night. And it's a really great show, but it's not that huge of a show. And it usually tends to be whatever the theme is that night. The theme of the show kind of matches the theme of the party, whereas the cruises are a little bit different. The cruises are going to have a lot of different shows depending on whatever cruise line it is. Let's say it's a Royal Caribbean ship, they're gonna have some Royal Caribbean shows, but the cruises also bring on some different things. Sometimes they bring on like a burlesque type show or different types of dancers, some cool shows that way. They'll also bring in some tribute bands. They have adult comedians that will come in. So you're gonna have a lot more variety of shows on the cruises than you do at the resorts. At the resort, the activities during the day that you can do is the stuff with the playmakers. They normally do some games like volleyball or beer pong, things like that are fun that get the crowd involved. You also have the beach right there, so you can go swimming. Some of the resorts have some like paddle boarding and kayaking, things like that. The cruises do have people that will host games, but they're not quite as often. At the resorts, they do games pretty often, every couple hours, where on the cruises, they'll kind of do one game per day, but the cruise does other things where they'll do a sexiest man contest or a bikini contest, things kind of like that. And the other activities that vary on cruises, they have a bunch of meetups. And so these are all self-led, but they will have meetups that are a full swap meetup or a soft swap meetup where you can kind of go and meet like-minded people. So there's a bunch of things like that. They also have seminars on the cruises. So some of those are free, some of those you have to pay for, but regardless, they have a place where you can go, you can learn. They have people come on the ship to teach, so you can get some information about different lifestyle things and different sexual things in general.
Depending on the ship, the cruises will also have other types of activities like rock climbing, ice skating, those kinds of things that you wouldn't typically get to do at a beach resort. When it comes to excursions, they are going to be kind of similar in a way. On the cruises, you again just have more options because you are going to multiple ports, and so you're going to be able to do different excursions at those ports. They are going to be excursions that are put on by the ship itself, or you can go book your own excursions when you are at the port or before the port, whenever you are there. When it comes to sexy excursions, cruises do put on a couple that you can do, and all of the people who will be on that excursion will be the people who are from that ship, and so you're going to know that they're all like the same types of people versus the sexy excursion that you'll see at the resorts. Typically, we are just talking about the boobs cruise. That is a different excursion that they do at Temptation. This is not put on by Temptation itself, but is an excursion that a lot of people who are staying at the Temptation resort do go on. The one thing with this is it's not only people who are staying at Temptation, so you're going to be getting a group of people that you might not be similar minded versus on the cruises, you know everybody there was already on the cruise. Music again is pretty similar, but cruises will have just more of it. You're just going to have more options because there are so many different places that you can go to either listen to live music, or maybe they have different clubs that are playing different music. But in general, there's going to be a lot of EDM, top 40, some rap whenever you're at the main party, whether that's in the daytime or nighttime.
So now we're gonna talk about miscellaneous things, which are all the things that go somewhere, but we didn't know exactly where to put them. One of the big ones is the nudity that's allowed. Now remember, this is all depending on where you are. It's not all over the ship or all over the resort. This is in specific areas where you're allowed to do this. But on Temptation Resort and Temptation Cruise, you are allowed to be topless but not bottomless, whereas at Desire and Bliss Cruise, you can be fully nude. Another difference is the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is included at the resorts, where Wi-Fi on a ship, you do have to pay for it. And as a general rule, the Wi-Fi at sea is not the best Wi-Fi in the world, so if you're looking to do some really heavy streaming, you might want to download it early. Another difference is the resort has one location that you're at, so you're kind of There, you're gonna be at the same beach every single day, where the cruises are fun in our opinion because you get to go to different locations. So you might go to, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 different islands. So you kind of get to see some different cultures, some different islands. And yes, a lot of them look similar, but it's different and it's cool just to have different locations to go to.
On the other hand, with that, on the cruises, you are in a way kind of stuck there because you can't, I mean, you can leave if you want to. So say you get off at a port and you don't want to be on there anymore, you can just bring all your stuff and then fly out from there, versus at the resort, you can kind of pick up and go anytime you want, or maybe you want to go to a different part of that specific country, you can go and you can do that there.
One big difference that we've realized is that on the cruises, everyone gets on the same day and off the same day. So if you're there for 5 nights, you're gonna be with the same people for the same 5 nights. Where at the resorts, people come and go. So you may get there the first day and someone might be leaving that evening. So that's something else to kind of consider, is that you might, you know, meet some people and then they leave the next day, or you might get to stay there the whole time if you're at a resort, but you never really know when people are gonna come in and people are gonna leave. Now, as a general rule, it tends to be that like on Mondays and Sundays is whenever the crowd kind of turns over at the resorts from what we've noticed. But you're still gonna have people leaving on random days, so you might meet some really great friends, but then they leave before you or you leave first.
Well, on the cruises, there are a lot more people. Sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to find those same people because there is so many places to go on the ship, and because there are so many people, versus at the resort, well, you might not be seeing the same people because they might be leaving at a different time. The resort itself is smaller, so it's going to be easier to run into the same people more often.
One good thing the cruises do, at least the last couple that we've been on, have done, is there's little texting type things in the app, and that way you can get someone's name and you can kind of send them a message like, hey, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be here. So that does help you find people when the ship is so big. One other thing that is kind of nice about the cruises is if you do make friends, we feel like a lot of people go on them over and over. So you might be seeing people on Bliss, non-temptation, then in Bliss again the next year. So since it's the same exact week every year, or it's one time, you know, there's an April one for Bliss, there's a November one for Bliss, Temptations every February, people tend to go on the same ones over and over. So a lot of the times you're gonna already have friends and connections from the last time you were on the ship, whereas resort is gonna be such a different group of people every single time. You might not have as many friends or know anybody whenever you first get there. That's unless you're going with a takeover. So at the resorts, if you are looking to kind of, you know, hold these same people over and over every time you go, maybe try to go with the same takeover every year.
In conclusion, both are absolutely amazing. We decide to go on both cruises and go to resorts both every single year. We do tend to do more cruising than we do the resorts, but that's just us. We personally do like the cruises better just because there is more options and more opportunity to meet more people. It's just more in general, and we've also always loved vanilla cruises, so I think it just automatically we're going to like lifestyle cruises. But again, that's going to depend on person to person. Somebody who doesn't like boats at all or doesn't like to be on a ship, or somebody who gets seasick, probably cruising is not going to be for you. Or if you're somebody who wants like a more intimate setting, then the resort's probably going to be better for you if you don't want that many people on there. We personally recommend to do both. Why do one when you can go on both? So we recommend to do a cruise and a resort every year, and hopefully we'll see you at one of these places.
If you guys are looking to book a lifestyle vacation, a resort, a cruise, whatever it is, we'll have a link down below. And if you book through our links, it really helps us out. It doesn't cost you any extra, but it helps us continue to make content like this. And that goes for if we're gonna be there or not, but we also have everywhere listed, so you'll be able to see all of the trips that we are taking. So if you guys want to come party with us somewhere in the sea, somewhere at one of the resorts, definitely check that out below.
People who do book through us, whenever we are there, we put everybody in this thing called the foreplay squad, and we call it a playcation. And so you're able to meet more people who are like-minded, make more friends, and we give out exclusive goodies and stuff like that. And we do like a special dinner, and we have a special chat and those kinds of things. So you can kind of get to know people before you'll kind of have some friends before.
So thank you guys so much for watching. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of insight into what would be better for you. I think they're both great for everybody. Make sure to leave a comment down below if you guys do have any questions about this or anything that maybe we didn't touch on. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe so never miss we post a video, and we will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye!